Hello, this is Notaspringchick, and if you want to keep cool in the heat, well, it's not just for people, it's also for pets, because pets too get hot. In fact, if you think it's going to be too hot, probably the best thing to do is to leave them at home. But there is an occasion when you do happen to be bringing them out and the weather changes, or maybe you like to take them hiking and things like that, but there are a few things that you can do. First of all, if you've got a long-haired dog, well, and it's above 75, you probably want to leave them at home, because that's probably the best spot for them, unless your home doesn't have air conditioning. But you want to keep them cool because, well, for us, I guess it'd be like wearing a fur coat. But if you happen to be out with your animal, and I'm going to talk more about dogs and cats, not because I'm against cats, but I have more first-hand knowledge about dogs. Although, old Cam, maybe you can comment about cats when we get to that.
Cats don't go out in the heat.
Oh, well, that's easy enough. They don't go out.
That's right.
So when it comes to dogs, some of the things is that if you always think about it, think of them like a small child or anyone else that might get a little bit too hot. Because, well, make sure you bring water. In fact, if you bring ice, it can gradually melt, and they will probably enjoy that more because it'll stay cold longer. Now, on the ice, make sure, although, well, you don't want them to eat the ice. You want them to lick the ice. Some people will let their animal lick the ice. That could be bad for their teeth. But I suppose if you have a really big dog...
No, don't let a dog with big teeth will break teeth on ice the same as a little dog.
So the other thing is, remember we showed you this. This one's by Sunsoul, and it's something that I keep for myself. Remember we talked about it, putting it in your hat and getting it wet? Well, animals, you can do the same thing with them. You can use this, get it damp, put it around their neck, help keep them cool. It's always something really good. Another thing I always like to do is, you know those freezer packs that you keep in the freezer to keep any pack things when you're carrying them to go? If you take those, I always take extras of these. If you put them on the stomach of your dog, it always seems to help them cool down a little bit faster. And the key to knowing that they need maybe water, need to rest a little bit, is you'll hear them panting. Remember that? They do that when they get excited too. So the other part is even if you have ice, like I like to travel with a container of ice, just ice cubes, because, well, they can lick it out and it doesn't drip as much as if you had regular fluid. In fact, when I take Monty walking, I go with a pack of ice cubes in a small container that I put in my fanny pack to go. So the ice will gradually melt and they can lick it off. But that container of ice also is good just to put against their stomach and basically just to cool them down. And you know, dogs can also have glasses. Yes, I've seen doggy sunglasses. You can find them all over the internet, which will help their eyes. Now, if you have dogs, some of them naturally have some, what else should we call it?
If they have fur,
Monty's gonna fall.
You don't want to ever get that away from their eyes.
Because it was designed to protect their eyes.
Right. But if you have a long-haired dog that is not a show dog, you can clip fur off in the early part of the summer because it should grow back.
Yep. Yeah, remember they call it, there's a summer cut. Some dogs have a winter cut.
Right.
I know, does that sound really complicated? And yes, if they're clean, what else would be good for animals? Let's see, we've got, make sure the ASPCA hotline, you always keep a hold of that because it's a 24-hour hotline. They do have a lot of resources, and make sure you also have your vet's information for your animal. Anytime you're transporting your animal, it's always good. I mean, think of them like a child. You know, here's the emergency, your name, right, and contact information, their vets, and the ASPCA, because the ASPCA hotline has full-time, veterinarians. They have the largest case library around. In fact, a lot of vets use it for that. But if you use a little bit of precaution, you can keep your animal pet.
But the best rule of thumb is, if it's too hot to take your child out in the car, don't take the dog out.
Oh, that's true. And some people, if you're not quite sure if it's too hot or not, if you think it might be too hot, that's probably a good indication. I happen to have these things. I got them from the pet store. They're great. They're window shades, and when it's too hot, the white part pops out and says it's too hot, which means it's too hot for kids, it's too hot for animals. Boy, see, water, food, just like people, you may want to have some extra food with them, something cold. ice cubes. Sometimes if you flavor the ice cubes, they really like that.
That's right. You might take frozen chicken or beef broth.
I know, boy, they would get spoiled. But there's a lot of things to do, because just because it's hot, you don't have to leave your animal at home. You can take them out if you like to, but just remember, if they're long-haired, just remember they've already got a fur coat on.
Oh, and don't let the dog hang its head out the window like you continue to see. It's bad for their eyes.
Oh, yeah. And if you're going out and there's lots of rocks, I mean, or even the pavement. Remember, the pavement gets a lot hotter.
Asphalt, they can burn the pads of their feet.
Yeah. So you may think those little dog booties look a little funny. Well, you don't want them to burn their feet, because you'd probably be carrying them the entire way or having a trip to the vet. Is there anything else that
Covers the first part, and then we'll do more as we find out more for everybody this summer.
That's right. So this is Notaspringchick on how to stay cool with your pet in the heat. We're here yesterday, today, and tomorrow.